is up, everybody? Welcome back for another presentation presented by Winning Bred. I'm here, Brady Klotz, with my buddy Dylan. Dylan, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing amazing. How are we doing?
We're great, man. Little Derby hangover. You know, we had a crazy situation happen with an 80-1 shot in Rich Strike, but you know what we do in racing? We always just move on to the next race the next day. So all eyes on the Black-Eyed Susan and the Preakness. We are coming to you live. I'm in Indiana. Dylan, you're down in Florida. We got the Preakness up in Maryland. Man, we're getting some followers in already. We're getting some people interactive in the chat. Brian's with us. A. Roth is with us again. Good to see you guys. Thanks for tuning in again. We actually have a special guest for you guys tonight. And so you're not just going to have to look at me and Dylan and hear all of our opinions all night long. We're going to bring in none other than Andie Biancone. You may see her on a horse in the morning. You may see her in front of a TV camera in the afternoon. Andie, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good, guys. You're getting me fresh from the barn today, so fresh from feed time. So love that. It's good to see you guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. What time did you wake up this morning? I'm sure that I was still in bed and you were probably already getting to the barn.
Bright and early. First set, oopsie guy started walking at 5 and got on him at 5:30, and he galloped and had some breezers, and then after that, my last one went at 9. So pretty chill morning. It was good. Can't complain.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you've been doing some stuff for TVG. You started that late last fall, I believe, at Keeneland, and then you worked at Gulfstream all winter long, and now you're back in Kentucky. I mean, I'm not sure anybody gets more miles in than you do.
Correct. Oh, no. There's definitely people who get more miles than me, but it's been great. I mean, I get the best of both worlds. Grew up being the crazy horse girl, and now I get paid to get on horses all morning and then talk about horses all day. So it's the perfect combo for me.
Yeah, well, you've been doing great. We love listening to you on TVG. We really appreciate you coming on our show to help us share our opinions with yours. We've got the Black-Eyed Susan race that we want to talk about. And then we've got a filly that's actually going to be running in the Preakness this year. And can she pull off what Swiss Skydiver did a couple of years ago? We will find out. But we've got Ryan in the chat, John's in the chat, Brian's in the chat. Thank all you guys for listening in with us. We really appreciate it. We're going to dive right on in. We've got some contests for you guys going on as well. And so here's the main contest that we want to show. We want to hear your thoughts on the Preakness winner and why. The key being why, because anybody can just hand out their opinions and say what they want to say, but we want to know what your reasoning was. And I've been asking a lot of my friends, hey, you said you would have gotten to Rich Strike. Show me how. I want to see how you guys got to that horse. We're going to select 5 lucky winners and announce them on Twitter before the race, so that way you'll get a free win bet on Preakness Day. So as we're going through the show, give us your opinions. We're going to rewatch the chat and everything, and we'll announce the winners at a later date. Let's get right into the handicapping, guys. I'm going to change our screen up here. We're going to pull up the PPs and just dig right on into it. Andie, we're going to start with you. I know you've got some top selections in here that you're really looking at. And I'll tell you what, guys, Andie does not pick the chalk. She likes getting prices home. And so we're going to start out here with Divine Huntress. This is a 15-1 morning line Graham Motion horse that maybe the hottest jockey on the planet is getting on in Flavien Prat. Andie, did you see anything in this horse here that really piqued your interest?
Honestly, not really. I feel like she hasn't beat very salty competition, and Turner Loose, Venti Valentine, these are horses who beat her previously and who underperformed in the Kentucky Oaks. So I'm not crazy about this horse, but I do like the Pratt factor. That is definitely something to consider, especially for a horse with a price, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Pratt factor is something that I've been talking about with a lot of people because you've been getting Flavien Prat at these prices, crazy prices. I mean, every single week he'll win on something that it makes you, it blows your mind. 6-7-1. That's not going to last for very long. I'm thinking by the time we get to Saratoga, Pratt's probably going to be odds on more often than most jockeys. But here we are, 15-1 again. He's fooled me before. A little bit of back class, ran in the Rachel Alexandra against Goddess of Fire and Turner Loose, which really didn't show up last time out. And so that worries me a little bit. I like to look at current form, and I don't see it on Preakness or on Black-Eyed Susan Day. Maybe this horse could run up and get into the trifecta. I just don't think that Divine Huntress would be a win candidate for me.
I agree with that statement. I think, you're right on. She could definitely take a piece of it if Pratt gets a really good ground saving trip. And like you said, she does have some back class, but I'm not sure she'd have that oomph to get some of these other horses who have run against saltier competition and who are just very consistent. She's a little bit inconsistent for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is kind of a horse where I would think she'd have to bring her best race of her career, I think, to hit the board, and maybe she'll do that. She gets Pratt, which is definitely a jockey upgrade. Not a knock on any other jockey, but I mean, nobody's really as hot as Pratt is right now. We'll move from Pratt to who I like to call the jockey god, Luis Saez, because I think he can ride any horse. Missy Greer for Danny Gargan's barn. Now, Saez has been on this horse 4 times in a row. This will be the 5th time. You like to see that he's staying aboard. Andie, Missy Greer, this is kind of a local horse to you because Danny Greer's down there at Palm Beach Downs, right? Or no, Palm Meadows.
Yes, I've seen Missy Greer all winter. I've seen her run in her 2 last starts. I mean, she's actually the half to Gronkowski. So this filly has a lot of pedigree. She's got a lot of page to her. She's a huge filly. I mean, absolutely massive. She's been, last time she won by 5 1/4. She should be one of the speed in here just because she's been running a 1-turn mile at Gulfstream. She physically wasn't my favorite kind of horse. Like, Danny is very high on this horse. He's like, I love this filly. The one time she ran bad was completely my fault. I back too quickly. Like, she's better on the dirt. She did the race, and she did improve from February to March physically. When she ran in February, I did not like her at all. And when she ran in March, I said, okay, this filly is developing. She's looking good. And so if she has developed from then to now even more, I think she could maybe be a horse to consider in here. I just know that trainer Danny Gargan is extremely confident in her, and that definitely says something.
Yeah, absolutely. Great analysis there. You're hearing it right from the mouth of somebody who's there at Palm Meadows most days. And so one thing I like about Luis Saez on a horse is when he goes to the lead. Now, I don't know that she's necessarily the fastest horse in the race, but I definitely prefer Saez's riding style compared to someone else that's maybe a little bit less aggressive. And so we're coming out of Maiden Special Weight Company and we're jumping up to the Black Eyed Susan. That to me is that the connections are really taking a swing here. Maybe, usually you're not going to jump from a maiden when you took 4 to break your maiden into the Black Eyed Susan, but maybe Danny Gargan sees something here. I just think that she's going to have to go a lot faster early than she has in the previous races. Not a win candidate for me at all, and I'm probably not going to be playing this underneath either.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll move on to the 3 horse. We've got a bunch of long shots here: 15 to 1, 20 to 1, 20 to 1. Miss Yearwood. This is Ian Wilkes and Julien Leparoux, who typically team up pretty well together. Another horse that's coming out of maiden special weight after 4 tries. Julian's been aboard the horse 3 times in a row. This will be the 4th time. Sometimes I like Julien and Ian Wilkes at a price like this, and you're going to get all that 20 to 1, I believe. Andie, what do you think?
She's actually, of the long shots, Miss Yearwood is my pick. I picked her in the paddock when she ran at Keeneland, when she finished 2nd to Distinctly Possible. She was also at a big price, but I just remember she looked absolutely phenomenal in the paddock. She was dappled out. I physically liked her a lot, just a good, strong filly. And she just seems to be improving with each start and improving with more distance. I think she's definitely a horse to consider, especially for the price she's at. Like you said, Julien Leparoux and Ian Wilkes are typically a powerhouse team, and they've been doing really well at the Churchill meet together. So I think, this is definitely a horse to possibly consider underneath or even as an exotic for sure.
Mm-hmm. The thing I like about Miss Yearwood is look what happened when we went 1.25 miles last time out at Churchill Downs. All of a sudden, it's like the light bulbs went off with the distance. And so, some of these horses are coming out of 7 furlong and 1 mile races max. For instance, Missy Greer, the furthest she's ever gone is 1 mile. Miss Yearwood's already gone 1.25 miles. And so I think the 1 1/8 miles is going to be right up her alley. She's got stability. She's got stamina. And at a price, I think you're probably going to get 25 to 1, all of that on this horse. Andie, is this your top pick, or is this a horse you're probably going to use underneath?
I wouldn't say this is my top pick. Maybe I I feel like she's going to be just right there, though. I do get a little bit scared with that jump going from maiden special weight company to the Black-Eyed Susan. It is a huge step up in class. But, I definitely think she could be right there. There's plenty of speed for her to chase after in this race. She won impressively last time out. Surely she's going to be feeling really confident after that win. And I like that post position for her. So, I think she's definitely going to be competitive.
What do you think about the pace scenario in general? Historically, it's a speed favor in track. But what are your thoughts, Brady and Andie, of the overall pace scenario? Are we going to see something similar to the Derby where the race kind of fell apart? Or do you think speed is going to be able to withstand going 46 and, going pretty quick fractions up front?
So here's my kind of theory on how this pace is going to all work out. And I want to let everybody know I was totally wrong on the Derby pace because of the two Japanese horses that we had a hard time getting any pace information from. And Summer Is Tomorrow and Crown Pride both went blazing, like 45-2 or 45-3. So here we are back to the Preakness. I think Johnny Velasquez is going to go try to get the lead here. As we know, Johnny V the last couple of years has been on a lot of speed horses in big races. You can think of Medina Spirit. You can think of Authentic. Here he is on Adair Manor, the 10 horse, and I'll scroll down so we can look at the early pace scenario. Timeform's giving Adair Manor a 117 early Timeform pace rating. And if we look at her previous races, Desert Dawn is really the only horse in the last 3 tries that has been able to hold her off from getting the lead. And so it's hard to say until race day, but we've got a whole bunch of horses that are right around that 100 level for the early pace number. But I think Adair Manor is probably going to be your speed of the race. Andie, what do you think?
Absolutely. I think Adair Manor, you've got a lot of horses stretching out from one turn in this race. So even like Radio Days, who's typically more of a they're going to be a bit closer because this is a 1.8 race and she's used to running 6 furlong, 7 furlong. So in those races, of course, she's oversped, but in this 2-turn race, she's going to be right there along with Adair Manor, along with Missy Greer, along with Bijuin. Is that how you say that? The 5 horse?
Beguin. I think it's Beguin.
Beguin, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of speed in here. It's a huge possibility for there to be a Kentucky Derby type
pace meltdown.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of these horses, especially the ones coming out of the maiden special weights, if the only way that they've won has been on the lead, you're going to wonder what it's going to be like when they have to pass horses for the first time.
Absolutely.
And so, that's also something in a horse's maturity. I mean, these horses are still babies. And so, Andie, you get to see it every day. How old is Diamond Oops? Is he 8?
He's 7.
He's 7. Okay. I mean, ever since I got started in racing, I've been following Diamond Oops. And so, these horses are 3 years old. I mean, do you remember what he was like when he was 3 compared to what he's like at 7?
Oh my gosh. I mean, he was the toughest. My best friend, Caitlin Dunn, her own Waiver Tree, which is a 2-year-old, like breaking, pin hooking, training center. And they broke Diamond Oops, and they said he was the toughest horse they've ever had to break. He would toss people left and right. Before I started galloping him, he was going to the track every day in a nerve cord. He was just I used to say, oh, thank God I never have to get on that thing. And here, I mean, he has his moments. He can either be, sometimes he gets his little flashbacks where he suddenly becomes 3 years old again and is burying me into the poly track like he did the other day. That was... I always say he likes to drop me once a year. He likes to humble me once a year, and always right on the mark with that. But then I also had a 3-year-old. I had Ricardo Santana's 3-year-old riding him in the stall today. So, big difference from his 3-year-old season where I had to give him 5 showers before his first race because he was on 5 legs and just being a gorilla.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. That's great insight.
Fantastic.
Love Ricardo.
Yeah.
I love Ricardo. The first time, I went to the 2019 Breeders' Cup. I saw Ricardo ride Matoli, and I was like, that must be what it's like driving a Ferrari because, that horse was an absolute monster. And so he won me a lot of money in a future that day. So you never forget those. Horse players, we always remember the bad beats, but seldom do we remember the good ones.
Absolutely. We like to be hard on ourselves, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there we go. We've got Miss Yearwood as me and Andie both like as a long shot. I'm going to be using Miss Yearwood in some trifectas underneath and maybe in a backup ticket if she can run the race of her life. We're going to go down to the 4-horse Midnight Stroll. This is John Terranova, Javier Castellano to ride. Here we are. A horse broke her maiden, and then came back going 7 furlongs and won again at Tampa Bay. Andie, any thoughts on Midnight Stroll?
I mean, she's definitely improved. You know, you have that factor for her with each race. She improves significantly in her numbers by 10 points or more. That's definitely something you have to consider. Um, Now she beat Rapturous, who is a filly I adore, just one of those Florida bred. I don't know, Florida. It's been such a fun time watching these Florida bred sprinting fillies all winter, like Hot Peppers and Rapturous. It was just so much fun to cheer for them and root them on. So I mean, this is gonna be a step up for her for sure. You know, she's a Florida bred going up against open company, you know, grade 2 company. It's going to be a step up, but she should be sitting on some confidence. And if she keeps on that improvement, she can handle the distance. She might be all right. I don't know. She's not really my pick, though.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think that Castellano, a little bit later on in his career, is the most aggressive rider anymore. I think he's more of the kind of sit back and make one run kind of type. And this horse is, I think, more of a sprinter anyway than a distance horse. And so I'm really not interested here at 15-1. Dylan, you've been known to hit a long shot or two from time to time. Anything here for you on Midnight Stroll?
Not really. I think the horse is bred turf. I know not this time has been running both well on the dirt and the turf, but as you said, it looks like a one-turn sprinter or one-turn horse. But we'll see. It might be part of the pace scenario. I mean, it can go 23 and change 46 half. So it'll be interesting. It's part of the pace scenario.
She's definitely going to add gasoline to the fire of the already potential hot pace that we're going to have, right?
Yep.
Here we
absolutely.
are. Yep. And speaking of, in the 5-horse Beguine, 111 early pace rating. Jose Ortiz is riding. Jose loves to go to the lead. I think he's a very talented jockey when on the lead. I really like. There's a few riders. It's him. It's Luis Saez. It's Florent Giroux. Guys that are really, really good at gate jockeys that get the horse out to break really quick. We're getting 12-1, and this horse almost won the fantasy, the grade 3 last time at Oaklawn Park. When I'm handicapping, I look at meets a lot. So, for instance, I did toss the Oaklawn meet when I was handicapping the Derby just because I didn't like the Oaklawn form. Absolutely. And so I'm kind of thinking the same thing here. Is I really wasn't that high on the Oaklawn form, and so therefore I'm kind of downgrading this horse a little bit, coming to Pimlico, going another 16th of a mile. Looks like maybe wants the lead, and so with all of the pace that's going to be in this race, I don't know that Beguine is for me. Andie, what say you?
I completely agree. I'm right there with you with the Oaklawn Park form. I mean, other than like Secret Oath, it's been kind of rough. I mean, throughout the Keeneland meet, if I was torn between 2 horses physically, if one came from Turfway and one came from Oaklawn, I'd go Turfway, hands down. And the first thing I said when Rich Strike won the Derby was Turfway Park form. I was going nuts. I was like, this is Turfway. Why are these horses? And I got so many long shots at Keeneland just literally because Turfway Park. I was like, Turfway Park, pick it. So I don't know. I think, like you guys said, there's going to be a lot of contention for that for that lead, and I think she's going to be one of those horses. She hasn't really beat anything crazy. Ugiri ran in the Oaks, was disappointing, and she's not that consistent. I feel like she's just doesn't really stand out to me.
Yeah, I would say me either. At the end of the day, everybody's taking a shot, and maybe it's your day to do a Rich Strike. And good point about the Turfway horses. The Turfway horses have been running monstrous races. I also think the Fairgrounds form is.
Sorry?
Been betting a lot of the Fairgrounds horses as well.
We lost you for a minute there, Brady.
Oh, am I back?
You're good. You're good.
Okay, sorry. I guess maybe YouTube was trying to mute me or something. I'm trying to keep everything clean here. What I was saying is I really like the Turfway horses. I like the Fairgrounds meet as well. I think a lot of Fairgrounds horses are coming to Kentucky and other places with a lot of class and a lot of stamina. And so I've been betting a lot of the Fairgrounds horses.
Definitely.
Let's go down to our first horse that's going to be taking any money, Luna Bell. This is a local horse, right out of Laurel, on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 race win streak. Every once in a while, you got to look at the local form. Looks like the Lasix did the trick for her. Here we are, 9-2. I don't know, Andie, local horse. What do you think?
I mean, you can't knock her form really at all. Other than maybe like her first start, she's been very consistent. She's either been first, third. She ran fourth one time. I mean, she's sitting off 5 wins. That's pretty crazy. This filly, I mean, then again, she's 3 years old and she's run a lot. So it kind of it depends on how well she holds that form and if she can go the distance. I mean, clearly she pulled away to win by 4.5, going a mile on the 16th last time. So, and she went 4 to 5 wide. Wow. So, maybe this is a serious contender in here. I'm not gonna argue with her form. Sometimes you got to go with a local horse, right? She knows the track, knows the surface. She's also shown some versatility. She's shown speed, like she's been right there in a 6 furlong race, but also closed in that mile on the 16th race. So I think that's a huge advantage in a race like this where there's so much pace scenario.
Yeah. And Andie, can you allude a little bit on like a horse for course angle, or like when you're galloping your horses and you're shipping them to Kentucky? I don't know. Did you guys ship to Kentucky Downs a year or two ago? Didn't Diamond Oops win at Kentucky Downs one time?
Finished second at Kentucky.
Second.
Yes.
Okay.
Second to Gear Jockey.
Great
Yeah,
race.
which is a great sprinter.
Yes.
When you're on a horse like that, do they know like when they're at a different track? I mean, they like certain surfaces over others. Can you tell when you're on horseback?
Absolutely. I mean, you can tell right away whether they take to a surface or not. And sometimes they take a few days to get adjusted to new surfaces or new places. Every horse is an individual. And as a trainer, you really have to be able to put those pieces together and figure that out. That's one of the hardest things about being a trainer is you have to figure out these individuals and they don't talk to you other than, what you feel being around them and being on them. So, I mean, I think it's a huge advantage that this is her home track, like hometown advantage. Is that like a football term? I don't get
Home field advantage. Yeah. Home track advantage. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, she's really sharp right now, as you alluded to. 5 straight. Looks like she could sit a nice trip like right off it or a little bit, mid pack. Second time 2 turns as well. I think isn't a mile at Laurel? That's 1 turn, right? 1 turn mile.
Yeah.
Okay, so second time 2 turns, huge angle for me. Great Notion. I know I see a lot of horses out of Canada that are by Great Notion, so which would seem to be routers. So this horse wouldn't shock me.
Yeah. I think she's a live contender for sure.
We've got a question from Ryan. Going to be in the 90s on Saturday. I actually saw a high of 96 at Pimlico on Saturday. We've got horses shipping up from Gulfstream that have been down south all winter. We also have New York horses that are coming down. Andie, I mean, do you all get all worried when it's almost 100 degrees if a horse isn't used to that?
Definitely. It can definitely impede their performance. And some horses handle it better than others naturally, just like people. I mean, I would pick 90 degrees over 30 degrees any day by a landslide. But, that's just me. And horses are the same way. Some horses really don't mind the heat and are very heat tolerant, and some just detest the heat and thrive in the cold. This is a little bit off topic, but like horses who train in Florida year round and they do that summertime, the second you bring them up north, they're like on X Games mode because they're like, oh my gosh, like they feel so happy and just cold, you know what I mean? So it is that definitely is a factor to consider.
Brady, did we lose you?
Hello?
I think we lost Brady.
No.
Brady,
why
come
did
back.
we lose Brady?
I think he was having some internet issues, so I'm sure he'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, I see some questions here. Should we just?
Yeah, let's hop on some of the questions here.
Is Andie the daughter of trainer? Yes, I am. Daughter, child slave, not child, but just. Let's see, Andie. Do you think the local jock colony have any chance to pull a price on the undercard? Definitely. I think local jocks. I mean, I don't know, local jocks like Laurel. That's just. I don't know. I love that. I think definitely keep an eye out for the local jockeys on the undercard. Somebody asks, Brett or Oversby says, "Hey Andie, how much does it affect a turf horse going to dirt? Does it affect the horse a lot, or does it just affect it slightly?" It all depends. A lot of things go into that. Pedigree, how the horses handle the kickback. Diamond Oops is a horse who runs dirt or turf, and it doesn't matter. Like either is fine for him. It really matters the horse itself, the individual, and paying attention to works is really important. It's a good way to tell whether they're going to handle the dirt or versus the turf.
Thanks for doing that without me, guys. I guess maybe a squirrel was eating at my internet line or something like that, or they're really trying to throw me off the air.
You didn't pay your bill, right?
I know, it's like probably 4 weeks late. Who knows? I need a winner. Thanks, guys. Sorry about the technical glitches, but hey, we're back. Let's talk the 7-horse Distinctly Possible. Here we go. Chad Brown, Irad Ortiz Jr. Chad has won on Preakness Day before with Cloud Computing. I don't know if he's ever won the Black-Eyed Susan. We'll have to do some research on that. Here we are, a horse that finishes second in her maiden to Gerrymander, loses to Juju's Map in the Alcibiades, and then comes back and breaks her maiden. This horse is very lightly raced. Kind of reminds me a little bit of maybe the male version of Command and Performance. You have aspirations for a grade 1, and then you dial it back to try to break the maiden. Andie, Distinctly Possible. What are your thoughts here?
I like this filly a lot. I love, sometimes layoffs concern me, but I know she hasn't had she just ran April 10th, but like for some trainers, like that's kind of a long period of time between races. And I love Chad Brown with that time. Like Chad Brown off a layoff is like unlike anything else. I mean, he gets horses
28%.
Right. Yeah. Horses to win grade 1s with like 9 months off or something. So I love seeing his horses come into races fresh. If she had a bit of a break, finally broke her maiden last time out at Keeneland, and now she's coming into this race, ready to go. I think she's going to be a live contender for sure. And she's another one who comes with a close, but could be a bit versatile. I think she surely has a shot in here.
I do too. And I really like the running style because this horse is not a need the lead type. She can sit and stalk. The 7 post is a great draw for her. With all this speed up front that we're going to be getting, I think there's going to be at least 3 or 4 horses that are going to go try to figure out the pace early into that first turn. And I see Distinctly Possible probably sitting maybe 4th or maybe 5th. Irad's a pretty aggressive rider. I'm hoping that that's where she can sit. We know she can get in the mile in the 16th, and the way she won last time makes me not question her getting a mile in an 8th. I really like this horse. I don't think you're going to get 6-1. I think you're probably going to get more or less in the 3-1, 7-2 range. Adair Manor's definitely probably going to go favored, but this could be like your second or third choice in the race, just based off not only the connections, but also her current form and being lightly raced.
Yeah, second off a layoff as well.
Mm-hmm.
Her 2 losses were to Gerrymander, very good horse, and Juju's Map, who I think she won her last race. So 2 winners there. I love when they put maidens in graded stakes, and they obviously felt very highly of this filly by Curlin. $670,000 purchase. She's my top 2 or 3 choices on Friday. Yep.
There we go. We're all in favor of Distinctly Possible. Guys, we'll move down to the 8-horse Candy Light, another motion horse. 20-1 is going to have to really take a step forward. Has been racing against lesser, but it is another local horse, and that local horse angle that we were talking about. I think I like the local horse that we just talked about a little bit better than this one. What about you, Andie?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Candy Light has been very consistent. You can't knock her there, but this is definitely a step up for her, and the distance is definitely.
Yeah. Dylan, anything here? I know you're the long shot finder. I'm going to call you the bomb detector because you find these like 20, 30 to 1 shots that I don't see.
We're on the number 8, right? I was on
The number
chat
8,
here.
yeah.
We're on Candy Light. It wouldn't, this race, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm a Grand Motion fan. I mean, obviously, a big fan of his turf horses. The breeding is obviously there. I really didn't look into detail as far as numbers, look any of the past races, but it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think she's going to be 20 to 1, probably in the 30 to 1 plus. But no other insight on that. While we're on this, we have a quick question for Andie. One of the listeners or people that are watching was at Keeneland 2 weeks before the Derby. I saw you were on Diamond Oops at the morning workouts. Why did you guys do a 2-mile gallop on the dirt for a turf sprinter?
Okay, so I think they must have messed up. We don't do 2-mile usually. So in his typical day, what it looks like is I jog probably like a quarter mile and I let him stand, and then I gallop off and I gallop him like 1.25 miles. And he just does that kind of at an easy pace, nice and chill. Some days we do like to do a 2-minute lick, which is where we do 1 mile in 1:50 to 2 minutes. And that's just to get his blood going, get his red cells up. Sometimes we do like 14 a furlong and I'll let him roll the last 3/8, and it just makes the horse really happy. And, he's not going to sprint in the mornings. He doesn't ever exert himself like fully unless we're breezing, which is a shorter distance. When he's galloping, he's just happy, stretching his legs, getting that base fitness down. Because at the end of the day, they're horses. You have to let them gallop. They're not going to be happy doing little sprints or whatever. You got to let him gallop and stretch his legs, and he's just happy to do that. So keeping him happy is a really important part of training.
There we go. He's got to have his off days too. And so, just jogging a couple miles probably helps build stamina, but then you really get him all geared up to go those 5 and 6 furlong sprints.
Yeah, we know he has that speed. That speed is like built into him naturally. So we just get him fit like any other horse, and then sharpen it up coming to a race, and bam, he's ready.
And do you look at workouts, when you're looking at a race like this, you're not familiar with some of the horses that are, up in the Northeast, or Laurel for that matter, or Pimlico. How closely do you look at workouts?
I look at workouts more closely when it comes to maidens. I always like to see horses who are, or even claiming races, because you want to see, again, a claiming race, horses who are working consistently, they're in good form. There's no issues there. They're fit, working consistently. That's a good sign. And babies, like just having those experiences working going into a race, like having more works under your belt gives you more experience, puts them at an advantage. In terms of these races, I don't like these types of stake races. I don't pay attention to the works as much. Obviously, it's great to see some of those bullet works, but then again, there are some trainers who don't like to have bullet works all the time. Like Shug is typically very conservative. Chad is very conservative when it comes to times. So yeah, I don't pay attention to works as much. I just like to see consistency more than anything. And maybe it's nice to see a bullet work every now and then, just to see that the horse naturally does have that speed.
I agree. I think that workouts are very telling in maidens, because then we figure out, okay, how's this horse doing in the mornings? But these stakes horses, I don't look at workouts all that much, or at least I don't pay as much attention to them, because we kind of know what we're going to get on the track. We know what this horse has done before. We know what they're capable of. And so really, like you had alluded to, just keeping the horse happy is half the battle.
Absolutely. Happy horses run. And once you figure out what they like and how they like to train, you just kind of got to stick with that, keep them healthy, keep them happy, and they'll run.
Yep. All right, let's go to the 9-horse Interstate Daydream. Brad Cox for Laurent Giroux. We've seen this pair win a few races. Finished third to Nest, who absolutely ran, a blitzing race and won by 8 back at Keeneland back in April. A little bit of a break. Didn't go to Churchill for the Oaks. Brad Cox ascended to this spot. I don't know. This is another pace horse that I think is just a little bit slower than the rest. I don't think that she's going to go grab the lead. This horse was coming out of Oaklawn, and I alluded to I didn't really like the Oaklawn form. I think this is another horse that needs Lasix. Let's look at this one Lasix effort. She popped an 89 buyer when she ran on Lasix, going a mile and a 16th, then regressed a little bit to a 79 buyer when she was off Lasix. And so for me, I mean, I'm looking at a lot of the horses on Lasix off. I think this is definitely a downgrade for me, and I don't really want to take 6-1 on Interstate Daydream.
That's fair. I feel like I like Interstate Daydream. I think she has versatility. She can sit off the pace. You know, she's shown that she can close before. She got in quite a bit of trouble in the Adirondack and still second. I think the distance is a bit of a question, but she enough for me in the Ashland. She finished third to some salty competition, and she's very consistent. So I'm not gonna try to knock her too much. I like that 6-1 price on Interstate Daydream.
There we go.
Yeah.
I think 6-1. She may even. I think she'll hold it 6-1. I don't think she'll go much higher or lower than that. This is one that I'm going to take a stand against. I think Flo's one of those riders that's really aggressive, and he's going to probably go try and get the lead. But I think he may find out that there's going to be more speed to his inside and outside. So what I worry is with Adair Manor to her outside coming over and trying to clear Interstate Daydream, I wonder and I worry about what kind of trip if Flo's maybe going to get pushed 4 or 5 wide going into that first turn. Just trying to envision the trip in my head. All right. We'll go down to the favorite here, Adair Manor at 5-2. Sean McCarthy, Johnny V, fastest early pace figure here. Horse was trained by Bob Baffert. Horse was trained by Tim Yaktine. Now we're in McCarthy's barn. We have a West Coast horse coming east. Andie, what do we possibly do with this horse?
Nah, I don't like her. I don't like her. I don't know if I'm just biased, but California numbers are crazy inflated. It's just every time you see these horses come from California, and it's like they run such big numbers. But then who have they beat? Really, like Desert Dawn. Okay, she ran an incredible race in the Oaks. I'm not gonna knock her there at all. But I mean, Desert Dawn pulled away by a lot, didn't she? Didn't she win by this one? Where did she finish? Second by 4 and 7.5 or something, right? She dueled for second. I don't know.
Last time out, lost by a neck to Desert Dawn, but that was at Santa Anita.
Okay, yeah. And Desert Dawn did run a good race, but I don't know. I think there's too much pace scenario in here. It seems like she has to get the lead, and she has the speed. I mean, on May 14th, she worked 5 furlongs in 58. You know she's fast. I just think there's going to be too much pace. And like I said, those California numbers are way inflated. I just don't think she's going to hold up this pressure.
To me, this is the Messier of the Black-Eyed Susan. This is the horse that needs the lead, that's going to come out and try to get it. You have Johnny V, the connections and everything. And I think that this horse may be on the lead until we get to the 8th pole. But then I just think that the pace is going to compromise her, and she's probably going to get swallowed up. And as the favorite, this is a horse that I would be looking at using maybe off of a few trifecta tickets to really try to get some value. If Adair Manor wins the race, I'm probably going to be throwing away all of my tickets on Friday, which is good because I'm going to be working at least half the day. So maybe if I get a few more meetings on Friday, I'll forget to bet this race. And if she wins, I won't regret it. But 5-2, probably going to go off a little bit lower. Everybody knows, anybody that looks at the form, they see Bob Baffert's the trainer, Tim Yaktine, Sean McCarthy. They know, the where this horse has been, who it's been training with. And Andie brings up a good point. When we're looking at the California races, a lot of times we don't get full fields. And so maybe this horse has been running against weaker competition. I've talked to a lot of ownership groups out west, and a lot of them say they buy horses specifically to run on the turf out west, because if you're running on the dirt, you're trying to break your maiden against Bob Baffert. And then if you try to enter a stakes race, you're competing against Bob Baffert. And so a lot of ownership groups that I know of are buying turf horses only on the West Coast. So that way they don't have to race against Bob until they break their maiden, and then they go to dirt just to really see if they've got maybe a contender here on that surface. And so, yeah, for me, if Adair Manor wins, I'm tossing this chalk. Dylan, what do you got here?
Yeah, I agree with you. And back to Interstate Daydream, that horse has the best closing number out of everyone in the field. She closed a little bit over 30, very impressive for a mile and 16th. I'm a big, as you know, I like to look at the closing 16th or quarter by far. I mean, that it's like a second faster.
And
but
had
back
Rich
to this-
Strike been in the field, I know you would have brought that up on the last show. But when we did our last show, Rich Strike was not yet in the field, but had the best closing number. So we're not going to let that beat us twice.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm with you on Dare Manor. I just, has to be on the lead. Very, very good analogy, Messier. It just, I see a pace meltdown. I'm looking for a horse that come off the pace and or a deep closer to win this race. I just think there's too much pace out there. But she obviously is a very fast horse.
I agree. All right. Oh, Andy, go ahead.
Toss the chalk. That's all I wanted to say.
Toss the chalk. You can't make money betting the chalk. I've taken a few bad chalks in my day. All right.
Here's a comment from Yeckersley. Hey, Andy, is a 59 workout at Santa Anita the same as a 59 workout at Payson? If they both went comfortably, or is it their validity at Payson being a deeper training track?
There's
interesting question.
Being with Payson being a deeper track, I think a 59 more speaks more than a 59 at Santa Anita. Plus the West Coast, it's just, my dad when I was younger used to always say it was because of the influence of quarter horse racing. I don't know if that's just the Baffert influence, but the times of workouts are much faster on the West Coast. I remember a 46 would be a 47 would be pretty average, relaxed at Santa Anita, but a 47 at Palmettos is oh my gosh, that's so fast, So there's definitely validity in that.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for the question.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move down to Radio Days, the 11 horse, Shug McGahee, Joel Rosario teaming up. Here we go. This is a horse that we know is not going to be on the lead. I feel like every other horse we've talked about in this race is going to be on the lead. 12-1 price. We're stretching out for the first time. This is a pretty big stretch out. We've gone a mile once, and that didn't work out. We went 7 furlongs in a grade 3 last time out. Maybe Shug has just been building stamina in this horse, and we know that he's tended to do that over his career. And sometimes his horses just take a little while to get going, but then they just pop up and surprise you sometimes. 12-1's a nice price. Any love for Radio Days for either of you guys?
I know she's typically more of a closer, but as she's stretching out and she typically runs 6-7 furlongs, I think she should be a little closer. If you see that time she ran a mile, she was laying second, whereas every other time she's run 6 or 7 furlongs, she's sat kind of mid-pack. So she's definitely, I expect her to be a little bit closer. I've seen this horse in person, stunning filly, absolutely gorgeous, but definitely looks like a sprinting type. I just don't really see this filly routing. I really trust Shug, in Shug we trust. So who knows, she could pull it off, but for me personally, I just think she's a better one-turn horse.
Yeah. This is the type of horse that Rosario always gets me on. When I'm playing a pick 5 and you don't use them, you're like, oh no, horse doesn't want the distance. And then all of a sudden he just pops up with this absolutely masterful ride that no one else can even think of doing, kind of like a Sonny Leone in the Derby. And so I always have to look at Rosario's horses twice just to make sure that I'm not going to get screwed on my tickets. We don't know what's going to happen going 2 turns. And so I look at who she faced last time out, Brad Cox Monster and Matarea at Keeneland. And I think I was actually there for this race. That was just about a little over a month ago when we were all there, Dylan. And I love Matarea so much. I think she's a monster. I'm going to use this horse defensively on my ticket. Kind of weird saying I'm using a 12-1 defensively, but I really don't know what's going to be there. I think that there's a reason why she's in this spot. She could have gone, to some shorter races. There's races at Saratoga she could be prepping for that are shorter than going a mile and an eighth here in the Black Eyed Susan. So I'm kind of a little bit for Radio Days, not my top pick, but my second choice.
Yeah, I agree with both your angles. I'm a Shug fan, and I typically when I'm rolling those pick 5s or pick 6s, I always use them. And he's been hot. He's been on fire.
And Michael's saying that the speed figures don't fit. Well, the speed figures have only been going up to 7 furlongs in a mile. And so when we're stretching out another eighth of a mile, really over an eighth of a mile than what she's been going, we could definitely see a pop in the speed figures. There you have it with radio days. We're getting down to the 12-horse Favor. Now, this is a horse that I know Andy's pretty familiar with, being down there in South Florida all winter long. This is a horse that my buddy Greg Olson pointed out to me in her second start. And so she got kind of a bad trip going 6.5 furlongs, then kind of dazzles us at a mile, wins by 4 1/4 again in a mile, then goes a mile and a 16th against Echo Zulu and Hidden Connection when they really threw it down at Fairgrounds not too long ago, back in March. I think that this horse is sitting on a big race. I think she's definitely going to have to step up in class, which, she faced classy horses last time out. This is actually my top pick at 8-1 Favor. Tyler Gaffleo and Todd Fletcher.
I have to agree with you there. I think she's sitting on a big race. She was definitely of the Pletcher brigade, especially of the fillies. She was one who stuck out at Gulfstream. Definitely, it's a huge step up, and it's going to be a question to see if she can handle that 1 1/8 distance. But Pletcher surely doesn't seem to have a problem going routes. I definitely think this filly is a competitor in here, especially at a price of 8-1. I like her, definitely.
Absolutely. Dylan Tegaff, your boy.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Because everybody
just on the
Twitter
chat
wants to know
here.
what you're doing. Are you singling, or are you gonna? Or is it the one we're leaving off the ticket? What are we doing with Favor?
Spreading. I'm definitely going to spread in this race, no doubt. I was just on chat and alluding to always using Shug or Mott on my pick 5s, my pick 6s, regardless of form. Gotta use them. I don't want to be beat by them. And same situation with the jock here with Tegaff, who always, as we all know on Twitter, the master of getting me at the wire. So, but I do like this horse. The $500,000 purchase, second time 2 turns, a lot to like. Nice, really good angles there. Echo Zulu, a couple lengths back of Echo Zulu last race. I don't think this horse is going to be 8-1. I think this horse is probably going to be about 5-1.
Yeah,
in that range.
Brett's got a question, Andy. What's the favorite track that you've worked out at? So I'm guessing he's asking what's your favorite track to gallop over?
Saratoga.
Yeah.
Even though the track is crazy and people ride around like it's a little bit like it's like mad crazy out there, there's just something about it. I love Saratoga. I love the paddock. Horses really, at least my walk them around, they don't really relax, and just something so special about it. And of course, Palmetto, that's my home. I'm so homesick being at Keeneland. I just can't wait to get back to Florida, honestly. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, Saratoga is my favorite track too, and I haven't been there since 2019 when a late and midnight Bisou threw down that race. Oh my God, that was still one of the best races I've ever seen live. That was like a non-Breeders' Cup day, but I love Saratoga.
Incredible.
I'm going to get back there this summer. I chose Del Mar 3 times last year. I should have gone Del Mar once, Saratoga once, and then just kind of spread it out. But I'm not making that same mistake again. All right. We've got 2 more horses in the Black-Eyed Susan, then we'll get over to the Preakness. We got a full field here. This is the 13 horse. Robert Reed, Frankie Pennington. Here we go. This is a 20-1 shot. A lot of races, a lot of form going back to early June of last year. And, this horse has kind of done a little bit of everything. We've sprinted with this horse. We've gone 2 turns with this horse. We've raced at Saratoga, Monmouth, Parks, Aqueduct, you name it. Andy, any love for this 13-horse 20-1 shot morning matchup?
You can't knock the fact that she's consistent. Last time out, it kind of seems like she kind of plateaued or kind of bounced a little bit. That was the first time in her whole career where she didn't hit the board. I don't know. And it's not like she had a really difficult trip or anything. It just kind of said she had no kick, went a little wide. So, I think it seems like this filly could be a little bit burnt out. I want to like her just because she's so consistent. I want to maybe use her underneath, but I also don't trust that maybe she's just a bit burnt out with all the races she's run and run against, she's run some stakes and things like that and been all over. It takes a lot out of a horse sometimes to travel so much and do so many things, especially only being 3 years old.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the closer in the race, though, too. A late 101 on the time form. I just wonder if she's going to lack a little bit of class, and that's it for me on morning matchup.
Absolutely. I think you've got some other closers in here who have a little more class, who are a little fresher, who I think better shot at picking. I really like those fillies.
Okay, there we go. Frankie Pennington equals Sonny Leone. We will see, Brian. We will see. That was a once-in-a-lifetime type of ride. I mean, everything went right. It parted like the Red Sea there. So, Dylan, any love for morning matchup?
Yeah, both of you really, you're on point. She's been in a lot of races, and I'm not a fan of, 3-year-old, 2-3-year-old running a ton of races coming into a race like this. Central Bankers, mile and eighth, I don't know. The distance Tomlinson is 3:45. Interesting, but I don't know. I look at the Central Bankers and the Speightstowns as maybe a mile at the max, but typically really good sprinters.
Okay, great. Well, that's the field for the Black Eyed Susan. I'm going to put our contest up here again so that everybody knows what we're looking for. We're going to switch over to the actual Preakness, the one that we've all been waiting for. A little bit shorter of a field than in some years past, but you get that in the Preakness sometimes. Running a horse back 2 weeks later is unless you're on the Triple Crown Trail, you got to really make a decision as a trainer. And so, we've been seeing a lot of these horses run throughout the year, and maybe things went well at the Derby. They want to see if they're in top form. Other horses are saying, you know what, I'm just going to go look at the Belmont, or I'm just going to go look at the Summer and try to gear up for the Travers. We've got a field of 9 here, and we start with the one horse Simplification, which made a lot of noise down at Gulfstream all winter long. Antonio Sano getting a new rider this time, John Velasquez, as Jose Ortiz is going to have the mount on early voting. Andy, I love this horse down at Gulfstream. I was against him in the Derby, and man, he ran huge. Are we for or against this horse, Simplification?
This horse definitely has a shot to take a piece of it. I mean, as you can see, he's just so game, so consistent. He's full of heart. I mean, he's shown speed, and in the Derby, he had the absolute worst trip and still came with such a close. He's just a hard-knocking, hard-trying horse. He loves his job. He loves what he does. Like, you can't get away from him no matter what. Physically, he's a good-looking horse. I remember from the Holy Bull to the Fountain of Youth, he improved, and I did see him at the Derby. Looked just as good, so that's something that I like to see. But yeah, I really don't think he's gonna win, and I just don't see him pulling off the win. But I definitely see him taking a piece of the cake, just because he's such a hard-knocking, trying horse. You gotta love a horse like that.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people that I was following leading up to the Derby thought that Simplification had distance issues. He proved them wrong. I mean, the 1.25 miles was not an issue for him whatsoever. You're getting 6-1. Man, I liked the price on him last time a lot. He was paying $35 or 35-1. Sorry, going 1.25 miles in the Kentucky Derby and finished 4th to Ridge Strike, Epicenter, and Zandon. All great horses. I'm probably, from a betting perspective, going to be against this horse as a win candidate. I think he's probably going to run his race, and I think I'm going to probably use Simplification in that 3rd or 4th spot. Mm-hmm. If this horse was 12-1, I think I would maybe consider using him a little more aggressively. But because of the 6-1 price, he's raced well. He showed up in the Derby. I just think, how many good efforts can this horse put together in a row? And so, that's where I'm at. They changed the tactics up a little bit in the Florida Derby. He was very close to Classic Causeway in that early pace when White Barrio circled the field along with Charge It, but he did hang on for 3rd. So I'm thinking if Simplification were to throw in a clunker, I wouldn't be surprised if it was on Saturday. Other than that, very nice horse.
Absolutely. 100% agree with you there, Brady.
Okay. We're going to Creative Minister, and I'm just going to say it. This is my top pick, 10-1. And so anybody out there that thinks that I only bet chalk, you are wrong. 10-1. Ken McPeak, Brian Hernandez Jr. 2 years ago, I would never have bet this horse, but I've gotten over that, things happen in horse racing and jockeys can get hot. They can get cold. Trainers the same way. Dylan, we bet this horse and he was a 15-1 morning line. I believe this was on Fountain of Youth Day and we were playing in the contest. He went off at like 2-1 and lost by a neck to that Felix horse that just got loose on the lead. And so I think the instructions were next time, hey, let's not be 10 lengths out of it heading into the top of the turn. Let's keep this horse a little bit closer to the pace. Well, look what they did last time, or 2 times back. To break his maiden, they kept him sitting fourth. They pounced at the top of the stretch, won pretty easily. Comes back again at Churchill Downs and runs a 92 buyer. So he's been improving his buyers by, 7 to 8 points per start. Won easily last time. If this horse takes another step forward, I think he could be super dangerous as a win candidate. And we know Ken McPeak can win the Preakness, as he did a couple of years ago with Swiss Skydiving.
Yeah, I love that this horse has been improving and his number is 10 points each time. That's great. Trend of improvement is a huge thing when it comes to these numbers. I don't know. I'm not really crazy about this horse. I feel like Kenny McPeak has had a lot of these horses really like up horses couple of races and they all kind of fizzled out. So I'm not too hot about Creative Minister.
Do you ever look into when they supplement a horse in for a race like this? They're paying $150K for this horse to run. Is that because he wasn't Triple Crown nominated?
That's true, but sometimes you have this horse has clearly shown a bit of talent. The owners are probably very excited, and if they have money, why not take a shot? And honestly, this is not the strongest. This isn't the saltiest Preakness field we've ever seen. So, I personally, he's not my choice, but it's definitely possible. I'm not going to take that away from him.
Dylan, Creative Minister, 10-1. We've been all over this horse the last 2 times.
Yeah.
Actually, the last 3 times that he's ran. Can he take another step forward for us?
He can. I really like this horse. I'm going to be playing this horse and the Chad Brown early voting horse. But you mentioned all the angles. The increasing buyers, the fact that he was closer to the pace the last 2 races, probably a better style for this horse. There's a lot to like. Breeding wise as well. Going to be on the ticket. It's going to be the 2 and whatever number was early voting, number 5. So 2-5 to the bank.
To the bank. All right. There's our thoughts on Creative Minister. The 3-horse Fenwick, 50-1. Man, really got disrespected by the morning line odds. This horse prevented Commanded Performance from breaking his maiden 2 back. Ran in the Bluegrass, was pretty disappointing. Andy, I don't know what to do with this horse. I don't think I'm using him anywhere on my ticket. Previously trained by Steve Asmussen. And so I don't know what happened there. Gets claimed, runs for David Fisher, throws an 88 buyer up there. But then ever since, we haven't really seen much of this horse.
Yeah, I'm not. I can't. I don't have anything good to say, really. He's just not consistent. Got his butt kicked in the Bluegrass. He's probably not feeling that confident. Now, horses get, especially the good ones, they know when they win. They know when they lose. It really makes a difference. Horses who win all the time, used to winning, they have a lot more confidence going into a race compared to a horse like Fenwick, who has taken the L a lot of times. You know what I mean? So, especially after a tough beat like that in the Bluegrass, I'm sure seeing the notes like saved ground, tired. It's not really, I don't really like him going into here.
When you look into a horse like this and you see there's 2 different trainers and obviously this horse wasn't claimed, do you look into that at all, Andy, when you handicap and you look at the prior races and the change of hands? Does that have an effect on your handicapping?
Definitely. Some horses do a little better when they get into a smaller program and get more of that individual attention, because some of these mega trainers, imagine going to university, you go to a small private school, you get an individual class size of 30 kids versus going to a big university like UF or UK and you have to share a classroom with 200 other kids. It's different. So I pay attention things like that. It depends on the individual horse, or sometimes even the reverse of a horse who could go from like a smaller person who maybe doesn't have the opportunities to, I don't know, to give the horse everything they need, like a bigger trainer who has more money. Things like that. Like I just kind of, I don't pay attention to it too much, but I definitely consider it a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, good points there.
Great answer. Yeah.
And when this horse won, it was a speed favoring day down at Tampa, went gate to wire. So I'm just drawing a line through that. Fenwick is off my tickets. Let's move down to Secret Oath. This is the filly. Andie, I'm gonna start with you here. Dwayne Lucas has had this horse in just peak form. Obviously, the last effort of winning Kentucky Oaks, coming back in 2 weeks. I know that's a tall ask for her. She gets the jockey god Luis Saez again. I mean, this horse did this with ease, going 4 wide around the turn last time out. She tried it against the boys in the Arkansas Derby against Cyberknife and Barber Road. She couldn't beat those boys. Can she beat these?
Absolutely. She absolutely can. Because when she ran in the Arkansas Derby, she broke terrible. She had a terrible break, and that really impeded her race. I mean, she had a terrible trip, and she still managed to get third. I definitely think amongst this group of boys, she's extremely competitive. For me, Secret Oath is a very quirky filly. I mean, we've seen that. She's difficult to handle, difficult to train, tough to gallop. So coming into a brand new environment, like, coming into this brand new environment, it's a little bit, it could be a lot for her. It could kind of frazzle her. So it's really a lot is going to be on how she handles all of the changes, even more so than like the contention she's running against. It's just going to be how she mentally handles this.
Yeah, I mean, she mentally handled the Oaks with all the people and everything. I think they had 100,000 people roughly on Oaks Day, and so she passed that test. I think this is one of the horses that kind of gets riled up in the paddock a lot. She's really feeling herself, and so completely normal for her. The distance is not going to be a question. She's gone 1.8 miles the last 2 times. My question is the spread out in her races has been perfect. We go October, November, December, January, February, a little break in March, and now we're coming back in April and then May. And so 2 weeks later, maybe the last race didn't take anything out of her. I mean, Dylan, she absolutely galloped right on by Nest, who is a great horse in her own right, and plenty of other great horses. I don't know. I think that she's going to need a little bit of a setup, and I don't think we're going to get that super strong wicked pace up front. We know that early voting is going to go. And then we know that the Tim Yaktine horse, Argmanic. How are you guys saying this horse? The 7 horse, Argmanic.
Yeah.
The Tim Yaktine horse. So I think you would need these horses to really create a wicked fast pace for Secret Oath to get a really good trip, because I think she's going to have to pass Epicenter. And as good of a horse as I thought Zandon was, and I still think is, Zandon should have gone by Epicenter, but Epicenter was able to hold him off. I'm not taking anything away from Zandon in the Derby, but Epicenter was close to that really fast pace in the Derby and probably ran the best race, probably was the best horse in the race. Amazing horse. Was still, and it looked like at the 16th pole that Zandon was going on by before we even saw Rich Strike at the bottom of the screen, and he held Zandon off. And so I think Secret Oath is the Zandon of this race. Is she good enough to get by Epicenter? Will Epicenter maybe bounce a little bit? I think if the pace is quick and Epicenter doesn't bring his same stuff that he brought last time out, I think Secret Oath is a huge player. Dylan, what say you?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just answering some chats here and thoughts on what the pace scenario is going to look like and the fractions. And we're getting questions. Is it going to be another Derby? 22 and change and 45. I definitely don't see that. I'm seeing like a 23-46, maybe 109, 110 at 6 furlongs. So what are your thoughts on the fractions and the pace scenario?
Well, here's my first thought is early voting's fast, and so is the Yaktine horse, Argmanac. It's both Ortiz brothers. And so, I mean, Jose's breaking inside of Irad. I think Irad prefers to stalk a little bit more than Jose does. Jose really likes to go to the lead. I don't see them dueling, though. That's the thing. I think early voting may have a little bit easier of a lead than a lot of people are thinking. He is breaking inside of the other speed, and so he's going to be able to go down and get to the rail. I see this 5-7 early, and then I see Epicenter sitting third, getting the absolute dream trip. And if, we got to go to early voting's last race, the Wood Memorial, where Mo Donegal, another fantastic, beautiful ride by Joel Rosario. I think only he was able to get that horse beat on that Wood Memorial Saturday, because I singled early voting. So why wouldn't I get beat? Early voting had a pretty easy pace advantage at the Wood Memorial, going a mile and an eighth. And so I think he's going to get another easy lead. Chad Brown skipped the Derby for this horse. This horse actually had enough points to get in the Derby. We've got another horse out of Gunrunner who's had a ton of early success. Can this horse hold on is my question. It's to me, he could wire. We had cloud computing for Chad a couple of years ago, 2017. It's Klarovich. They skipped the Derby for a reason. I think Chad Brown actually read the pace scenario in the Derby better than any other trainer, because had this horse been in the Derby, he may have just finished, just because of how the pace dynamic was going to play out. So if this horse can run back to that Wood Memorial effort and improve a little bit and not get pressure, it is all going to come down to what does Irad do on the 7th. If Irad chooses not to go, this horse may go gate to wire.
Absolutely. I mean, I think Chad has been aiming for this race. He's an extremely talented trainer. I love a little bit of freshening up coming into here. Horses like Secret Oath and Epicenter, they're incredible horses, like the class of the field, but the early voting has that freshness advantage, and speed holds on this track. And this isn't like the Black Eyed Susan where there's a ton of pace. I mean, like the pace, there's definitely some speed in here, but this could be one of the speedier horses. And I think he can. I mean, his first time out, he sat ahead off the pace. And I think he could do the same thing here if the Tim Yakteen horse. Hey, guys, chill, please. Please chill. Sorry, my roommate's dogs are.
They want to talk about the races too. What do they think?
They're saying single early voting, I think.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's the big question is pace. Pace makes the race. Everybody knows that. And so can early voting get an easy lead? If he does, I don't think that the distance is going to be an issue of getting a mile and 3/16. There's not a ton of closers in the race. The Zandon's not in the race. Mo Donegal's not in the race. You have the filly and Secret Oath. It's the main closer. And then you have Epicenter that I think can push this pace if he wants to. So that's what it also comes down for me is if Irad doesn't outbreak Jose and try to grab the lead, I think Joel from the 8 is going to go try to sit right off of this horse's hip. I really do. I do not think that Joel's going to let these horses get away with early fractions.
Yeah, I agree. Joel's let's see, Greg. Joel is not going to let him walk the dog, and yeah, Joel's definitely more aggressive, and he's going to be right up there, no doubt.
Yeah, the break's going to be very important. Here we go, Happy Jack, Doug O'Neill. I think this horse raised a lot of eyebrows as to why they went to the Derby, and now hey, here we are. Let's keep this horse on the East Coast. Let's throw blinkers on. Maybe that'll wake this horse up. I don't get it. Owned by Calumet Farm, 30-1. You get T-Gaff. I'm not interested in Happy Jack myself. I wasn't interested in Happy Jack in the Derby. And we had to see how Taba and Messier ran, who beat Happy Jack by 12 1/4 lengths, 2-back in the Santa Anita Derby. Are we missing something here? What does Doug O'Neill know that we don't? I mean, we've seen this horse's form. I just don't think that he figures here. I think he probably figures, maybe more in that allowance to grade 3 type of level.
Yeah, or he needs to cut back because, clearly, cut back with the blinkers on. I'd be like, all right, green flag. But I don't really like him at this distance. He got his butt butt kicked in the Kentucky Derby. I'm sure he doesn't really feel good coming in. He's not going to be happy as a little clam, coming off that 14th place finish, coming into this race just because he throw blinkers. You know what I mean? I don't see this horse anywhere in here, but, watch him just pull away, just.
Another rich strike.
It's to me, I skip this horse. I don't even think twice about him. Hey, at least we don't have to worry about an AE drawing into the Preakness. It's not going to happen. So we know that all the horses we've talked about at least are going to run unless they scratch.
Exactly.
So, all right, we'll move on from Happy Jack to the 7-horse. Tim Yakteen, Old Bob Baffert, 3 back, Irad Ortiz Jr., Starlight Racing, the connections. I mean, another speed horse in the race. He ran 4th, okay, to Taba, Messier, and Happy Jack in the Santa Anita Derby. And I think people forget Forbidden Kingdom was in that race. And that may have been the fastest horse in the country until the 2 Japanese horses came over running the Derby. This horse didn't outbreak, he sat 4th the whole time, no rally. I see those notes. Then what they do, they drop him down to an optional claimer. He gets a win against nobody. Now we're thinking, okay, let's send this horse up to Pimlico to run 2 weeks later after a Santa Anita going a mile and a 16th, shipping across the country. I'm not interested whatsoever. This is the horse that would surprise me if anything happened. I mean, I don't even have this horse in the Super.
Yeah, I don't like it, but I don't know. I never liked California Form. The numbers are inflated. Like I said, like you guys said, who has this horse beat? Who has he beat? He has a bit of.
Oh. Yeah. Andy would have talked me off of Taiba, by the way. I could have saved a tremendous amount of money if I had spoken to Andy a few months prior to, or a month prior to the Derby.
No. In your defense, I only knew Taiba no-go when I saw him in the post parade. So.
Oh, okay.
I was like, maybe this Yak team not for her. And then I saw him post parade. I said, nope, no. So I'm going to swipe left on our Magnac.
Yeah. Are you guys more of the Yaffert or the Baftine? I mean, what is it? I'm more of a Baftine kind of guy than a Yaffert.
That's like an antibiotic or something. Baftine.
Andy, just real quick, just to I had no idea that Taiba didn't look that good. Prior to the race, what was she acting nervous, or what did you see in him?
Not even anything against the condition of the horse, because he looked like he was in good condition, but just physically, like how the horse is built. Horses like Mo Donegal, Epicenter, those were the ones who immediately stood out. Just looked like, imagine that the whole group of horses is a textbook and they're all text. Like Epicenter would be bold. Like in every race you watch him run, I don't know, at least for me, my eye goes straight to him because physically he's just outstanding. I just drool over Epicenter all day. Like he's just
You got a little crush, huh?
I definitely do.
Well, he may be the one
awesome.
Taking the trophy on Saturday. Speaking of Epicenter, that's the next horse up, the 8-horse, 6-5 morning line favorite, Winchell Thoroughbred, Steve Asmussen. Man, I would have really liked if this horse would have won the Derby for my own selfish reasons and our group tickets and personal tickets. I had like 25 people over to the house for a Derby party, and we all had Epicenter. And yet at the 8th pole, we're like, oh, there's no way. And then they're like, oh, hold off Zandon. And then we're like, oh, we're good. Oh, wait, Rich Strike, look to your left. Okay, race over, 80-1. Everybody throws away their tickets. To me, this horse is the best 3-year-old in the country. Was the best horse in the Derby. Stalked. I think Joel gave this horse a great ride because he really sensed the pace. He had this horse sitting 8th going into the first turn, just hugged the rail on the inside. You couldn't have gotten a better ride than what Joel gave this horse last time out. We're cutting back a little bit to a mile and 3/16, which, by the way, this horse has ran at and won at in the Louisiana Derby, which is the only prep race that's a mile and 3/16. And so, we know this horse figures here. We know that the pace isn't going to be lightning fast with 3 or 4 horses trying to gun for the lead. We're thinking 1 or 2 horses are going to go to the lead. Secret Oath, the filly is really the only closer that we're worried about. How does this horse lose?
He's beatable. He's been beat before. It's going to be, it's going to come down to small margins for this horse. Like little things are going to make the difference. If he gets caught a little bit wide, although he is physically stand out and has just been impressive to say the least throughout his 3-year-old campaign so far. I mean, I think just very marginal things can make the difference for this horse, having to go a little wide, having to just duel a little further. Like he is beatable. We have to remember that. And I think I'm definitely, I don't know. It's like I want to use him, but I'm very tempted just to single early voting because, yeah, I don't know. I feel like this horse, I thought he would bounce in the Derby, and I was wrong. So I could be wrong again here, but I feel like this horse has to bounce at some point, even though physically I do love him so much. I don't know. It's too good to be true sometimes,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our friends text us all the time and say, hey, this horse can't lose. And for a woman that gets on horseback every day, when you hear somebody say a horse can't lose, what's your response to that? Because horses are animals. And no matter what we see on paper sometimes, maybe they just aren't feeling like getting out of bed one day.
Yeah, absolutely true. I mean, I don't know. I have felt a couple of times. I'm usually pretty conservative when it comes to my horses. I'm like, bet them across the board. But I don't know. I have felt that feeling before where you're just like, holy crap, like this horse can't lose. One of those moments was before Diamond Wow finished second by a neck from the 14th hole in the Jessamine last fall. I breezed her on the grass at Keeneland, and I just did like 14s all the way around, let her roll the last 3/8, and I swear I almost started crying. I think I did start crying because it was just such a Seabiscuit moment. I was like, this is what it feels like. Oh my gosh, she's gonna win. And then she drew 14. And I remember Brittany Erden actually interviewed me. She said, how do you feel about that post position? And I said, well, they had to put her there to beat her. If they're going to beat her, it's because of that post position. And lo and behold, lost by a neck. Oh, poor girl.
I know. You were crying, and I was yelling at Mike Smith to go left-handed. I was like, come on, Mike, let's go. I bet Diamond Wow that day. Weren't you guys like 7-8 to 1? Or no, were you favored? I forget.
No,
It was.
She was like 7 to 1, I think.
Yeah, I thought she was like 7 to 1.
Yeah.
What's Diamond Wow up to these days? When's she coming back to the track?
We gave her a little bit of a break. She going into the Breeders' Cup, we were about to send her to the Breeders' Cup. She came out of that work like a little bit stiff behind, and we were like, what's wrong? It wasn't wise. And then all of a sudden she came down with mastitis, which is when their mammary glands get infected and inflamed. And this poor filly has just been battling this for months. I mean, even when she ran in the Forward Gal against Radio Days, it had cleared up. And then as soon as she ran that race, it came back. So it was like, it must have still been even brewing like when she ran that race. And she's been on every antibiotic you could think of. It's even come to a point where it's antibiotic resistant. It's just so insane. And the vets say they've never seen anything like it. It's just the weirdest thing. And we're just like, you know what? Cut all the antibiotics, cut everything, turn her out. So we're turning her out for 3 months, and we're going to bring her back this fall and see where she is. But she's no doubt one of the best fillies I've ever sat on in my life. And I believe in her with my whole heart. Just, we got to get that mastitis cleared up.
Yeah. Andie, we got a question from OC Breeze. Any interest in training full-time eventually? I know you're helping your dad out right now and you're doing the TVG thing, but like down the road, are we going to be seeing you, in the Breeders' Cup with some horses? Like what are we thinking long-term?
Wow. Well, my dream has to be a trainer, since I was 4 years old. That's all I've wanted to be. I've just had this wonderful opportunity to start with TVG and do things like this with the media side. And it's all been very fascinating. I love talking to people. I love talking horses. So this is definitely scratching that itch for me, but eventually I do want to train, and that's my long-term goal.
There we go. Speaking of Skippy Longstocking is the 9 horse at 20 to 1 for none other than Saffie Joseph Jr. And we get Alvarado to ride here. Interesting putting this horse in this spot, coming out of the Wood Memorial, same race as early voting in Mo Donegal. finished third behind those two by 3 3/4 lengths. I think the price is appropriate here at 20 to 1. I don't have anything bad to say about the horse. I just don't love him on top. Maybe this is a horse that you could put in your super in third or fourth. Any thoughts here? Any love for Skippy Longstocking?
I definitely had love for him when he ran that optional claiming at Gulfstream back in March. He was my paddock pick, and I think he was at a price. I had him for a price that day. Physically, I mean, he looks like he's the type of horse who can handle the distance. I think that has been the biggest attribute to his success in his past few starts is just that extra distance. And I like him for a price for a horse for like of the off the pace closers. I definitely like him underneath. He finished second to early voting before. I think he's definitely got a shot to take a piece of it, especially if there's some pace up in front.
Yeah, absolutely. Dylan, any love for Skippy Longstocking?
I agree with Andy. I don't think I'm gonna use on top. Maybe in a back wheel with early voting with the 2 and the 5. There's definitely going to be some pace out there, and it wouldn't surprise me if this horse can close and finish in the top 3, top 4. I'm with Andy on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Think he could. He definitely has a shot to take a piece of it. That's definite. That's a definite.
Absolutely. So Andy, you like Secret Oath, early voting, and Epicenter. I like Creative Minister. Dylan, who's really going to be your key horse in the Preakness?
Early voting.
Yep.
But I do, I'm with you on Creative Minister, very, very close second. I'll probably, my pick 5s and pick 4s, I'll use both of those horses on the majority of my tickets.
There we go. We got a question from the viewer here. Hey guys, what's one horse from the Derby that you guys were hoping to see in the Preakness? I know Dylan's answer is Taba, because that would have meant he would have won the Kentucky Derby and he's going to try for the Triple Crown, and we'd probably be in Vegas. Would we still be in Vegas? Or we'd probably be back?
The south of France, maybe. I don't know. We'd still be there. As long as we could bet horses from there, but yeah.
Yeah. Andy, we'll let you answer this question. Brett's question will make it a little bit different. What's one horse out of the Kentucky Derby that you're looking forward to running later this summer?
Definitely Zandon. I like that horse a lot. Funny story. After he, I never really had, the greatest respect for that horse until he won the Bluegrass, because I was working for TVG, obviously, and I picked him up to do the pony interview. I was going to interview Flavian after winning the race, and he fully was interested in mounting my pony after winning the Bluegrass, and I was like, well, that's a good sign. Bluegrass clearly took nothing out of him. Like the fact that he was looking at my pony like that, I was like, okay, I was like, that's a good sign. I think I picked Zandon for that sole reason. I was like, this horse was not tired at all after the Bluegrass. Like he can certainly handle the pressure of the Kentucky Derby. So I'm looking.
Well, yeah, kind of like Rich Strike trying to eat the Outrider's leg. I mean, I've never been on a horse. I'm trying to change that this year. So maybe, Andy, you can teach me how to ride sometime down at Palm Meadows.
Bye.
But why? I mean, I've seen horses bite each other, but I've never seen a horse bite an Outrider's leg. Like we all remember last year, what was it, Yopon and Firenze Fire in that sprint race last year on, was it Traverse Day, I believe? We were all at the NHC and he just tried to savage him. I mean, have you ever been on a horse and been bitten in the leg by another horse?
All the time.
All the time? See, something that I think
second nature.
Like, whoa, that's so cool. No, it happens all the time.
It happens all the time. They try to nip you, they bite you, Their colts are full of tests. I mean, even Oops, just because he's a gelding, but he's such a dominant animal. He just loves to bite the pony and make the pony feel like, sub. Like he's like the dominant one. So I've never, I did actually have one horse one time grab a hold of my pony's neck, like fully grab onto him. And we were like spinning in circles because my pony was trying to get away. And he was just hooked, grabbed onto my pony's neck. And I did start flailing and hitting him in the face. It wasn't like a punch, like a but I was like, like get off. So I can kind of understand the Greg Blasey thing. I'm trying to stay neutral, but yeah, it's hard when that's happening to like not do anything about it.
Is that common? Like after the race, like after especially a long route race in the Derby to be that amped up.
This horse is like, it depends on the horse, but clearly this horse is a very playful horse, as we've seen in the mornings. He's full of himself, definitely like very playful. He's always got a lip chain on. So you know that this is a horse who likes to rear up and jump around, very full of testosterone, very colty. And I also just don't think, from what I've heard around the chit chat around the backside, is this trainer doesn't really school his horses with ponies very often. Like this horse had never been picked up by a pony after the race. So he was just kind of like, oh, pony, let me play with him. Let me fight. You know, and playing for them sometimes is like biting you hard and you're just like, like, you know, so.
Here we are. A viewer, Greg Olson, says that War Emblem, the 2002 Kentucky Derby winner, Gate to Wire, bit him on the shoulder. So, hey, that's a claim to fame for me. I almost got bit by Raging Bull one time, who was one of my favorite horses of the last couple of years. But, yeah, when I'm at the barns, I'm, like, always walking on eggshells. You know, we'll go back to, like, Sweezy's barn every once in a while, and I'm like, all right, I hope I'm not in anybody's way. You can definitely tell someone who's a true horseman versus someone who is not. And I definitely probably stick out like a sore thumb.
Oh, no. But
yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you for the time this evening. Thank you to the viewers. We really appreciate you guys interacting and spending some time with us. We went a little over an hour tonight, hour and a half almost. Wow, time flies. Thanks for talking Preakness with us. Thanks for talking Black Eyed Susan. Andie, thank you to our special guest for coming on. We really appreciate your time and your insight, a different angle than what we see on a daily basis. So thank you for coming on. Dylan, thank you. We're going to be doing the contest that we announced to the viewers this weekend. Just like the show, retweet us, give us a follow on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter for the contest details in the coming days. So that way the 5 lucky winners will be chosen and you guys will have your Preakness bets. Thank you guys for another amazing show. And we hope to do it again sometime soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks
All
again,
right, we'll
Andie.
see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.